I'm Mike Sullivan, and today we've got an equipment review for you. A rangefinder, laser rangefinder from WOSPORTS, coming up next. So today we're going to do an equipment review on a rangefinder from WOSPORTS. And the thing about laser rangefinders is for me, is number one, I want to know how accurate it is. If it's not accurate, it's really not of much use. It's got to be accurate within, you know, for me, probably 3 or 4 yards, or maybe even a yard or two. And for other people, depending on their ability, they have their own different tolerances. So we're going to talk about some of those tolerances. So what I did was I tested this rangefinder against the Bushnell Tour V3 that I've had for maybe 3 years. And when this came out, it was pretty much the standard. It was like a benchmark as far as accuracy goes. And so I feel pretty good that this is an accurate rangefinder. And I even tested this rangefinder with another one to make sure that this in fact was fairly accurate. So let's take a look at some of the footage from testing of the WOSPORTS rangefinder. So we're on the course and I'm using right now the WOSPORTS rangefinder, and I'm testing it right next to a Bushnell, a higher priced rangefinder. So we used it on the first hole, and this rangefinder from WOSPORTS was within 1 yard of accuracy, assuming that my Bushnell was accurate, at 125 yards. So this read 125 and my Bushnell read 126. We're in a par 5 hole. By the way, the last hole is a par 4. My Bushnell gave me a reading of 126 yards and the WOSPORTS is at 125. So that's pretty good, and I'm sure there's a huge price difference between the two rangefinders. So now we're in a par 5. So the actual distance here is just not as important. So my Bushnell to the flagstick, I'm getting 263. Okay, 263 yards with the Bushnell. And the WOSPORTS, what's nice is this does have a pin lock feature. 261. So a 2 yard difference at 260 yards is pretty much, I would say that's the same exact reading, is for my purposes. You know, this is really a review to show, you know, what the product is and if I would recommend it, I guess. But you can't help but compare it to what your other choices would be. So, you know, Bushnell is the real popular brand. And so I can't help but compare the WOSPORTS to it. And a couple of things I'm thinking about is, one, on our home course here, all the flagsticks have a reflector on them, and rangefinders seem to click onto them really quick and work really well. And this works the same way. The Bushnell's got a little more weight to it, so when you go to hold that Bushnell up and lock in on a target, it's easier to keep steady. It seems like the optics in it are super steady. Like, it's just really super easy to use. The WOSPORTS one is lighter, and it's not quite as easy to keep as steady. Is that a big deal? No. But it's just, you know, some of the little differences. So it seems like, you know, the build quality, feel, all that seems better in the high-end $400 price range. But this will give you your yardages, I think, just as well. It's a lot less expensive. And here's the big thing about it. I've lost one of these before, and it hurts. So if you think you're gonna buy one of these and possibly lose it, which I think is possible for anybody, I would really consider going with the WOSPORTS, but we're gonna keep testing it out. All right, par 4. Bushnell gives me 135. WOSPORTS gives me 133. 2 yard difference still. It's not going to change my club selection or the type of shot I'm going to hit. So a few key notes on the WOSPORTS rangefinder. This is not a slope finding rangefinder. It doesn't have the feature as far as the slope to add or deduct yardage from the shots that you're going to hit that some of the more expensive rangefinders may have. It does have a pin lock feature, which is great. So you just hold down the button when you're pointing at a flagstick, and then you get a little vibration that will then show you your yardage is kind of locked in. This particular rangefinder, this will actually read down to tenths of a yard, which is pretty cool. The rangefinders I'm accustomed to, that just gives you basically rounds up or down to the nearest yard. So having that tenth of a yard feature is kind of nice, but I will always just round up or round down. I don't want to get that particular within how many feet I am from the flagstick. One interesting thing about this rangefinder that I found, when I was using it next to the Bushnell rangefinder and using a target or a flagstick where there was no reflector, where it's just a plain old like naked flagstick out there, and I'm going to do that right now for you. I'm shooting this closest flagstick right now. I'm getting a reading of 23.1 yards, so 21 yards on the WOSPORTS, and then on my Bushnell, I'm getting a reading of 23 yards. So at a close distance, exactly the same. But I'm going to go down to a farther flagstick. So we'll check out here the WOSPORTS. I'm going to go out to the 6th hole. I'm getting 158 on the WOSPORTS right now. And the one I'm really going to trust is going to be the Bushnell. 161, so a 3-yard difference. You'll notice that from 160 yards, I got a 3-yard difference. You know, just trying to do some quick math, well, 1% would be 1 point. So it's about a 2% difference perhaps, and this thing probably isn't exactly accurate anyway. So if you're hitting shots that are going to be, a mid-iron shot, this WOSPORTS rangefinder is going to get you within, it's going to be tolerable. Now we've got another flagstick way up there, so let's try this with the Bushnell first. The Bushnell way out there is giving me 312. That's a stretch. I think that's going to be a stretch for the WOSPORTS, 312. I have never personally been too concerned about hitting a ball exactly 312 yards. WOSPORTS is going to give me 306. So that's pretty good. 6-yard difference at 312 yards, and I believe this only gives you, they only claim to be accurate or usable at 200 yards, and I'm using it at over 300 yards with no reflector on the flagstick, and for all I know, the Bushnell could be off as well. So a few key points. Build quality, this is $80 or $90 rangefinder. I'll put a little link in the description so you can find it on Amazon. Build quality, this does not feel as heavy and as solid as the Bushnell. Definitely, weight-wise, the Bushnell feels a little bit heavier. It feels a little bit more solid. This just feels like lighter, and I had one of my students test it out. It just feels like there's less inside of here. But, I'm really happy with it. It does also measure speed, I guess. So in hunting, if you wanted to track how fast animals were moving, I didn't check that out, but it does have those hunting features. But all in all, I would say for a basic rangefinder that does not do the slope, this one is going to be pretty close. If you're a professional golfer and you've got to get it down to the yard every time, you're probably going to go to the more expensive type of a rangefinder. But if you're playing golf and you're not making a living from it, I think for $80 or $90, especially since you could lose this expensive one, I think this WOSPORTS just might be the way to go.